The Black Talk Media Project would like to invite you to become a member of the BTR Community subscription-based social media platform. BTR Community is a platform that was set up for the listening audience of Black Talk Radio Network, the #1 independent Black radio network online. For just $24 per year, your subscription gives you access to an interactive space to share information with like-minded people with your privacy guaranteed. Your subscription will go a long way to help us maintain and improve our current media platforms. It will also help provide a budget so that we can begin the task of establishing localized media centers and radio stations across the United States. The best way to show your support and appreciation for what we do here at Black Talk Radio is to subscribe. Help us to help you be informed. Join btrcommunity.com today.
The views and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Radio show tonight. It is Wednesday, and we are in March, the month of March. Spring is coming. Spring fling is coming on in. Welcome in to the live.
Namaste, namaste, Black Rose. How are you?
Namaste to you.
How you doing?
I'm fine. Hola. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Yes.
In your car. In your car. Welcome.
So wait a minute. What movie was that in? Oh, Annie.
The Annie movie with Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
And the little girl, what's her name? Oh gosh, she has a unique name.
Very.
I want to say Chevrolet, something like that. It's a pretty name.
Very pretty, but don't ask me because I didn't lock it in my head.
I do know, but
she was a nominee for the Oscar, right? For the Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
She was the youngest, I think, at that time.
At that time. Yeah.
I believe she was the youngest.
Okay.
Wonderful. I'll try to look her name up a little later. But it is Wednesday, and we're here at the Mind, Body, and Spirit radio show tonight. And tonight, you definitely want to tune in and probably want to listen again and take some notes because we will have Carlenia Springer as our guest tonight, and she is going to share with us sacred spaces movement. I feel like I should say it like that. Sacred spaces. Movement. Maybe slow it down. Sacred spaces. Movement.
I like that. Yeah, they had good energy. That had good energy.
You have to have the right energy. And this is about our energy and lifting our frequencies and raising our vibrations because we get into such a low vibration in this low vibration that we're in. And so with the Sacred Spaces movement, she's going to share with us about this global awareness campaign to empower people of African descent. And we need that. Lord knows we need
We really
that
do.
we need to be empowered. And Sacred Spaces movement is about healing our hearts. And, we talk about that here at the Mind Spirit Radio Show. So many of us are broken and shattered, and we really do need to be put back together again. We're like Humpty Dumpty. We are really like, we used to sing that darn nursery rhyme. We were talking about that the other night. One Wednesday about the nursery rhymes, Humpty Dumpty, because we are so broken. We are so. Speaking of broken, Lord knows I need to call and see when my next therapist appointment is too. I thought about that because it's inside the bank, the credit union that I use, and I was like, I need to check with her and see when is my next appointment, because Lord knows I'm so happy about my therapy appointments, because I advise anybody, especially if you Black, living in this madness, I'm like Baba Dick Gregory, wicked, insane, filthy, ungodly system. You need some Sacred Spaces movements and all. You need some therapy. You need somebody to talk to.
You really do.
A getaway like the sisters in I think it's Costa Rica or Puerto Rico, not Puerto Rico. I believe it is Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Where the sisters can come and just get away from the stress and strain of living here.
And racism.
Yes, racism. Let's just call it what it is. Dealing with this darn racism. So I'm so looking forward to hearing more, and hopefully, I need to plug up my computer. Hopefully, maybe we can make this a regular deal where she can come on and give us some healing. Because what is that Stevie Wonder used to say? We all need love. Yes, we all need healing, and we all need love. Yep. So Featherlight, let me let you go ahead on with your quote, if you don't mind, and let me just get some technical thing together. Is that okay?
Of course. All right. Now, my quote for today is, and what is wrong in a woman's life, in a man's life, cannot be right. And let me repeat. And what is wrong in a woman's life, in a man's life, cannot be right. That's by Frances Ellen Walker Harper, writer, teacher, lecturer, abolitionist, and women's rights activist, 1825 to 1911. And as you may or may not know, this is Women's Month. So I thought that was a good one to start out with. And I have another one that we will share later. You ready for yours, or you want?
Yeah, I just want to say, Frances Ellen Harper is one of my absolute favorites. Yes. I love her. I didn't even become familiarized with her. I had never heard anything of this brilliant woman that was a part of the Black intelligentsia. She was friends with the likes of Frederick Douglass and Ida B. Wells. Okay. And so I was so offended once again by this miseducation system, because I'd never heard of this woman. And so to me, I was like, okay, it's not like she doesn't have any writings on record. She has plenty of writings on record. I have a whole book of her poetry. And she was friends with Frederick Douglass. Yeah. Okay. And I think is it William Wells Brown that wrote the Underground Railroad? I think it's William Wells Brown. He speaks of her in the Underground Railroad book, and I'm like, what? Well, so you just kept her in obscurity. I mean, why didn't we ever write any Black history reports on her?
Right.
I was so offended. I
remember when you told me about her.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, I think I went into like a depression. And it was also like an epiphany and a revelation, because I was like, I took this class on 21st century African American women. I still have one of those books, one of my class books, because the reference of women like Mary Church Terrell, which I did know about because I'm from Memphis, and I mean, people know about the churches. Mary Terrell and her father and her brother. So, but I still, she was friends with them. So I'm like, goodness gracious, why did you leave her name out?
Right. Why?
Mary Frances Helen could pass for white, but she was one of those people that, quote unquote, mulattoes, that she often spoke prolifically about how, yes, I could pass for white. I could have taken the easy road, but I stand to fight with my people. And that's what I really love about her. And I think that's one reason why she's omitted from any discussion when we talk about abolition and Frederick Douglass. I mean, because let me just put it like this, like they say, what a ghost can get it. Like when we speak of Dr. King, you speak of Reverend Bevels and Brainerd Rustin Bernard. What was it? Abernathy, right?
Right.
Give me the other one. It was the Big Six. Okay, Randolph, Philip A. Randolph. Okay, so this was like that group: Ida B. Wells, Frederick Douglass, Francis Ellen Harper. That was the group. They were like part of the Big Six group, like with King and his crew. To omit her, it was just like, why? Why did you leave her out? So anyway,
what makes you wonder? Things that make you go,
Things you go, Right. So, well, thank you so much for sharing that quote by one of my favorites, Feather Lights. Also, before I go into my quote, people, you can follow us on the Twitters. The name again, Scotty, is Frances Ellen Harper.
Ellen Walker Harper.
Ellen Walker Harper. Thank you, Feather Light. And she used to write using a pen name, Iola. And gosh, I'm kind of drawing the blank on the connection. I think she adopted that name from, or either Ida B. Wells. I think Ida B. Wells adopted that name from her. It's some kind of connection. I can't recall right now. I'll look it up and see. But let me see. One of her books is, I'm looking at it right now. I have it next to my bed. A Brighter Day Coming. Yeah, Brighter Day Coming. It's a book of her poetry. So yeah, she was brilliant. And see, they used to have these groups, like I mentioned, called the Black Intelligentsia, would come together and discuss issues germane to the Black community. So in her day, let me just make this really, really clear so we can know how powerful this woman was and how brilliant she was. She would be the Dr. Chris Wilson that we have today. Yeah, that she was. Oh yes.
Whoa.
Oh yes.
Heavy
biographer on her, because I've really been studying her over the years. So on and on. We did highlight her for African Spirit, but it's just so much to her. She was involved in so much. And you know what? I think we'll do highlight her again next month, her and Maria Stewart, because Maria Stewart was one of the first Black women to give a political speech in front of a diverse audience. We don't hear about her either.
No.
We don't hear about her either. And yeah, that was historic. Okay, so here's my quote. It's not the load that breaks you down. It's the way you carry it.
It's the way you carry it.
So it's not the load that breaks you down. It's the way that you carry it. And that is a quote by the beautiful and talented, or we could also say the beautifully talented, Lena Horne.
Yeah.
Lena Horne. Send this to Scotty right here. Frances Ellen Harper.
Could I say something about that?
Walker Harper.
Of course, yes.
Greetings to you, ladies, and to the listeners.
Greetings.
Namaste, Scotty.
Namaste, Scotty.
Namaste.
Love you, Scotty.
Love you too. Frances Ellen Harper Walker. Okay, now see, you mentioned that she could pass for white and she was a mulatto, but do you know that's the case with many of the famous abolitionists? And I only bring this up because I fell out with somebody who wanted to say that, and I don't know if Chancellor Williams said this, and I don't give a damn if he a doctor or whatever, Dr. Chancellor Williams. If he said that, if you look throughout all history, this is what this person told me, that the mulatto is the one that betrayed us and always, telling on us. Yeah, this is what, this colorism within the black community needs to die, because, you mentioned Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass was possibly had a white parent, from that. It's just Gabriel Prosser. There's just so many of them. Yeah. So many of them.
Ida B. Wells was not a mulatto, but she was very fair skinned. You can see the little wavy hair she had too. Tell.
Yeah. So I'm like, why do we
Du Bois? He was part Dutch.
But I'm like, why do we have this segment among us calling themselves conscious and then saying some ridiculous mess like that? And
it is.
It's absolutely ridiculous, and we need to end that.
It's so divisive.
Yes, it is. But thank you for sharing her. I think I've heard of her before. We may have featured her. If she was an abolitionist, it's a good chance we featured her in the last 6 years on New Abolitionist Radio. But I'm going to make sure that, we bring her up again.
Definitely. Yes, Scotty. I can share a lot of information with you on her. Oh my God. But I'm sure you have plenty of information on her. She's just, oh God, like I said, she's just one of my favorites. And then, to be a poet, just a beautiful poet. Maybe next week I'll read one of her poems.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I have to dun, 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 dun. Well, I wish I had some like a little intro music right here. You have anything, Scotty, that you could give me an intro on hot topics? I got a hot topic. You have anything? Could if you don't have anything that you can just give me slamming, you can just play a little bit of that. What is it? The African spirit. But we need some slamming hot topic music.
Yes.
Especially for tonight. We're gonna have to, Scotty, I have to send you something for hot music if you don't mind, because this is just a hot topic right here. I have to talk about this.
I am looking forward to it.
Yes. Now, I don't know if people have been following what's been going on in South Africa. Now, actually, this has been going on for about the past 3 years. The talks of more. Well, I know it's been talks for more than 3 years, but the more so in terms of in Parliament and bills being passed and more action behind it. Because let me just go back. So in South Africa, aka Azania, original name, shall I say, Azania, is going through land expropriation. So the black people are demanding their land back. They're not just asking for. Remember, now this is what Mandela went to jail for, and the other 7 people that went to jail with Mandela. It has always been a fight for the land. Okay, that's what Winnie Mandela continued, and many others. There's always been this constant fight for the land. Now, over the past few months, with the new president Ramaphosa coming in, historically, the ANC and another group, the Economic Freedom Fighters. Remember, the Economic Freedom Fighters were the ones that went up in H&M stores and turned them inside out about those monkey hoodies.
Right.
So the EFF and also another group called Black Lives First, Black Land First. They are demanding the land, that the white farmers be removed from the land. Hallelujah. And let me not say white farmers. Let me just say it like Malema said, the leader of the EFF, Dutch gangsters, because that's what they are. People now, they're the descendants of Dutch gangsters who came over and stole the land from the Azanians through massacre. So let's be clear. There were no fake treaties like what they try to tell us with the Native Americans here and all that.
Mm-hmm.
No, they came over there and massacred people for the land, caused all kinds of conflicts between the groups of Africans there continuously, and that's why you have the ANC, African National Congress, and the PAC, Political African Congress. And so you have them they've been at odds with each other, just like in Rwanda, right? With the Tutsis and
Hutus.
Hutus, thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong. Thanks, Featherlights. So anyway, make a long story short, these groups have come together and they are demanding that the white farmers, the Dutch gangsters, are removed from the land without compensation. But there is a twist to it, and I'm still looking into this twist in this bill, because if the land is quote unquote commercial or productive, then those farmers will not necessarily be forced to move. Now, there are rumors that there are some groups that are going and they're actually on some Nat Turner type of stuff, Nat Turner type of mission down there. They're going in, forcing people out, killing people. The rumors, and I don't know who's behind all of this. These are just rumors. But it seems like they're on some a Nat Turner mission. If you go on the YouTube, you'll see all of these videos of these Dutch gangster descendants. They're begging, crying, boo-hoo, begging. Oh, they coming in here, they doing this, they coming in here killing us, they chopping up everybody. We're afraid, we terrified for our lives. So you may have heard that they are now petitioning. I think they petitioned Germany, they petitioned the U.S., they petitioned to the U.S. Have a petition. I think they now have 10,000 signatures. And they're saying, oh, let us come over there because these black folks, they killing us. They trying to take the land and it's not right. It's white genocide. But they forget that they did. That's what you did.
Very same. How did you get there?
It's crazy. And
how did you get there?
How did you get there? And then what's even more interesting about it is they're saying, let us come, but don't let the Somalis come. And don't let any Muslims come over there. But let us come over there. Listen, we don't need no more racists over here. We got enough of them.
We sure do.
I'm sorry, I don't hear anyone.
I didn't hear anyone either.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Black Rose just went out all of a sudden, so.
Right. I thought it was just me. Okay.
Yeah, but I would say while we wait on Black Rose that we do need to vet these stories, because I tell you, right before you ladies came on air, I saw this story in the Google News feed from Snopes where you got these racist suspects on Twitter circulating a photo of a little white girl talking about she had been attacked by a dog and it chewed up her face, and they were blaming it on black people, saying they cut her face to look like the Joker or something like that. It's completely false. That little girl was attacked by a dog, and Snopes provided the pictures and the links and everything, and she's recovering. So it is there is a campaign by the quote unquote alt-right to try to hype up this so-called white genocide. But even if it was occurring, hey, y'all say y'all Christians, y'all ever hear of reaping what you sow? So there you go.
Right. Karma. Huh. Black Rose, are you back with us? That's the same thing that was said about the Black Panther film. They had pictures of women, white women beaten up, the faces all beaten up and bloody and everything, saying that they had tried to go and see the Black Panther film, and these black guys jumped on them and beat them and said, this movie isn't for you. And then another picture of another beaten up European saying that she tried to go and some black women jumped on her, when these were photos of another totally different incident, like you said, Scotty, of a woman having her husband beat her up or some other mess where they just took a photo and then just slammed it on the internet and then posted a fake script with it. So we really have to be diligent about that and fact check this, because it's going to be more widespread, because they just can't stand what is happening to them when it has happened to our people for centuries.
Yeah, they don't seem to like justice too much when it involves them paying.
Oh no! And they're saying, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Figure it out. But you got to get the hell up out of here. Oh, well.
So I guess you're going to have to carry the show until we get Black Rose back.
Okay. All right. Well, I have another quote that I want to share. This is a quote. This is not an inspirational quote, but it's a quote that I think our listeners need to hear. All right. This is a quote by State Representative Kimberly Daniels. Keep in mind, this is a state representative. Quote, "If it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree." So she's promoting slavery. She said that in the Bible, it says, slaves, you must obey your master. And so that's the good book, and that's what has been going on. And I'm just proud and happy that we did have slavery. Oh, people. Oh my goodness, that hit me. That hit me. This is a person. This statement is by one of our so-called leaders, pillars of the community. And it shows the impact of not knowing your history or who you are, allowing someone else to define you. The very same entity that wants to rewrite your history and belittle your very existence. This is a pure example of absence of self-love. And think of how many people she's talking to, she's teaching. I'm sure she has grandchildren or nieces or nephews or something, and that's your mindset? You're happy that we had slavery and you're holding an office? We put you there. If you're from Florida, anyone listening to the sound of my voice, remember this is State Representative Kimberly Daniels. When you go to vote, this is who's representing Florida.
Now, you know what, Featherlight? I would check her district, and I bet you her district is that she's running in is probably predominantly white and predominantly red, meaning that they probably supported Donald Trump. I heard this other lady say the same thing. It's been some years back. She was supposed to be a preacher or something. And so when I saw this story coming around, I thought it was just regurgitating what that other lady said. But I mean, to say that means then that you're justifying the murder of millions of people who didn't even make it to these shores because they died in the holes of those ships or they jumped overboard to save their lives. So really, do you really think if you're a Christian and you because I think that's what she said that, or else I might be in Africa worshiping a tree or something like that. And so for somebody to say something like, is that the kind of God she serves, that he would approve of the massacre, or she would approve of the massacre of millions of people just so that you can come to know God? That don't sound right to me.
No, that doesn't sound right at all. That's not clicking.
Oh, you do have a call, Featherlight. You have Sister Delta on the line.
Oh, okay. Can we patch her in? Delta?
Can you hear me, Sister Featherlight?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
It's been ages since I heard your lovely voice.
I know. I miss you. Namaste. You know what I was wondering when you all were talking about that? Is that accurate information from that individual? You know, there's a lot of things that get on the internet that is not quite.
I looked in several. I was as shocked as you, and I looked in several places. I did some digging on her. Yeah, because I just couldn't believe that that was coming from a person. Well, I can understand some people do feel that way. I did run into somebody who just said that she was glad that we had been taken from Africa and brought over here because the people in Africa are destitute and fighting each other and blah, 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 blah. But this woman is she's a state representative, you know.
I know who she is. I know exactly who she is.
Yeah.
So,
I
just want to make sure, that was her actual, comment and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of it's disturbing. It really is. For one thing, I mean, nature. What's wrong with loving and worshiping nature?
It's the same person.
Absolutely. It's like you better hug the tree, and you're not going to be breathing too long.
Right.
You better be doing something with the tree.
For real, the sun. I mean, ancient Africa. Well, they weren't really called Africans, but from the motherland. There was a worship of the sun because that's where we get our energy from, and the sun as you win, sun as you win. So I mean, don't knock nature now.
Definitely, it's important.
don't knock
nature. Is next to God.
Yes, indeed. This indeed. That's how I get my my inspiration and my rejuvenation. I have to get out in nature every single day. So it is. Well, it's so good for you to call in, Mother Hattie. You have any news that you want to share before we bring on our guest?
Yeah.
We got Black Rose back.
Well,
Black Rose is back?
Yes, I am back. Technical difficulties with the internet, but I am back. And we have our guest here. So, hey, Mother Hattie, how are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you. Good to hear your voice.
Good to hear your voice.
I was having trouble getting in. It wouldn't let me in tonight again. I had Delta Cougar do a 3-way.
Oh, well, I'm glad you were able to get in. And you as well, Delta.
And I was so disappointed when I couldn't get in. So, okay, thanks.
Oh.
Well, you're here now.
Yes.
You're here now.
Yes, you are. And both of you are here at the perfect time because Carlenia Springer is going to talk to us about sacred spaces, and it's something that we really need to hear. And I think we can benefit from what she is going to share with us. And then I said, I would love for you to share some information about our reparations call. So let's welcome in Carlenia Springer.
Namaste. Namaste.
Hi, Black Rose. Hi, Featherlight. Thank you all for welcoming me on this call. I've been listening to you all. This is an amazing call. I didn't know what to expect, and I heard you all talking about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. And I literally just bought her book, The ISIS Papers, a couple of days ago.
Wow!
And I was at Frederick Douglass's house. I live in D.C. For the first time yesterday. Yes. And when I saw that house is a mansion, and they said he paid like $6,900 for it at the time. In today's money, that would be over $1 million.
I was about to say, if he paid $6,900 for it, that was quite a bit of money in his time.
Back then, yes. And that man lived right up until he worked right up until he died, right in the hallway of his home, at that entrance. They said he had just come from a speaking engagement, and he was supposed to go to a church, I think, that evening. And he walked in his house, and he had a heart attack. He dropped down right there and died. So he worked right up until the moment that he left, right? And when I think, when I was listening to you all, and I think about the condition of our people, and like one of the things that really struck me about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was that her message never changed. It never changed. It was like, it doesn't matter. We have brilliant people, and we can do many things, but if we don't recognize that the problem is racism, white supremacy, we're not going to make any progress. And
you have to understand it.
I recently came across information that just opened my mind to a completely different level of understanding of who we are as a people. I came across, how do I even begin to share this information? I'm going to text you, Black Rose. I'm going to send you a website, and then you can share with your members. But I came across this site that, now, I've been a metaphysician for a very long time. I was raised Christian. But when I came across this, I said, oh, my God, this is what has been missing. Because what the whites and their offspring did, they divide and conquer. So they took our knowledge from ancient Kemet and put it in all these different religions, divided it all up. But the one thing, we talk about the universe, we talk about our energy. And what we as a people over here, there's some of us that are still connected to our traditional indigenous spirituality in Yoruba and Akan, but our ability to communicate in real time with what in Akan is called the Abosom, or in Yoruba is called the Orishas, the spirit forces in creation. We have an ability to communicate with them, and the whites and their offspring do not. And what I didn't know when I came across this body of information was that.
Before you go into that, when you speak of Yoruba, just for some clarification, you're speaking primarily like of people in the area of Nigeria, and Akan, that's primarily like in Ghana, and that's
Ghana, yes. But what's even interesting is that, I don't know, have you all heard of African Ancestry? AfricanAncestry.com? Yes. Right. Okay. So the people that are over here in the West, the people of African descent that are here in the United States, through the Caribbean and in much of Brazil, are direct descendants. A lot of us are direct descendants of the Akan, which they trace right back to ancient Kemet and Kanit. So our traditions go all the way back to what today we call Egypt, right? And this information that I came across has never been codified, because it shows that linguistically, through the language, through our blood circles, our what they call spiritual and genetic circles, we kept our traditions. Every slave rebellion that was successful, where they talk about we freed ourselves, up to 50,000 of us every year freed ourselves. I didn't know that. I don't know if you all knew that. From the time they started bringing us over here, there were those who maintained our traditional religion, traditional spirituality, and as a result, they freed themselves. They defended themselves, and literally were part of that movement that caused the U.S. government to, we get a different story, but bring about the end of slavery. And
so, when you think about the Haitian Revolution, many people say that they tapped into that voodoo, and that's how they were able to free themselves. And to me, it's not spooky. It's just us coming together with our intention. Everybody focus on the same thing, which is liberation or whatever it is, and you make it happen. It's just like when we get in church. If you go to church and you all hold hands and you pray, it's the same thing.
It's combining that energy in one direction. Focus on one thing.
Yes. And So, well, let me talk a little bit about sacred spaces, because the way that I even came to that was, well, I don't know if you have ever heard of Malidoma Some or Sabanfu Some. They're from Burkina Faso in West Africa, the Dagara tribe. So I studied for 2 years with Sabanfu. She passed last year, but for 2 years I studied with her. And her name literally means keeper of the rituals. And in her community, they don't really talk about ritual. It's just a way of life. And so what they understood is, like, if a child is not properly welcomed into the world when they're born, right, that there's going to be a problem. And in their tradition, the mother literally channels the spirit of the baby among the elders and tells the elders why it's coming into the community, because there's something that the community needs that it's bringing. Yes, and so when that child is 7 or 8 years old, the community gathers, and the elders now ask that child, why are you here? And they're always, without fail, able to tell why they're here. So they know that they're here to execute a specific function. We say that, but we literally have been born behind enemy lines. And so we live in a culture that is an assault on our spirit, because the whites and their offspring can only operate based on what they can physically see and feel, other than the technology, right? And so so it's like we're walking around literally with half a brain. And we can't, our people are losing their minds every day. I heard you talk about the pressure that we live under, and we've been born into this. So for some people, it's like you don't even recognize, unless you leave this country and experience what it's like in another country. You wouldn't even know what that is. It's just your norm, and there's nothing normal about it. It literally is an assault on our spirit. So in their culture, in their worldview, they divide the community among 5 elements, and that's water, fire, mineral, nature, and earth. And so earth people, the earth people are people that are welcoming, so people that are always friendly, and they're so happy to see you. They understood that everybody has a gift to share, and if you have no place to give that gift becomes heavy, right? And it becomes toxic. And so then there's another side to that. And so for the person that is the earth person that is always welcoming people, people look at that person and say, oh, they're okay, they're always happy and smiling, and they have no place to share their pain, right? They don't have a place to share their loneliness, and people don't see it. And so if there's no one there to see it, they begin to withdraw. And the very community that they've built, there's nothing there for them. Water people, I'm a water person. Water people are the mediators or water bearers. And so if there's a problem between a husband and wife, or business, or somebody in the community, you go and you look for a water person to help you to resolve that problem. But if that water person has no place to share their gift, then they can become like a tsunami. That's the anger and the rage, right? Because that's a buildup of energy. You have a mission that is supposed to extend from the time you come into this world until you leave. And when there's no place to express all of that, it turns and it becomes destructive. So fire people are the ones that bring messages from spirit. So we all have we all have these elements within us, but there's a dominant one. And so the fire people, if people can't receive the messages that they're getting from spirit, those are people who get very angry and will literally, like, you feel like they're burning you up with their anger, right? Their rage is out of control.
Yes. Out of control.
Minerals. Mineral people are the ones. Minerals are like the bones of the earth. And you know how somebody says something and you can say, I feel that in my bones, or I felt that in my bones. And so bones hold the information, and the stones are the bones of the earth. Mineral people hold the stories of healing, stories of tradition. If they don't have a place to share those stories, in this culture, they become the gossipers, right? That energy has to go somewhere. Nature people are healers, and so they're able to. The nature is like a library to them. They're able to read nature like a book, and but if they have no place to, or I shouldn't say have no place, but if they're so busy, they can be so busy healing other people, they become what we call the wounded healer, right? Oh. Yeah, so you're giving so much to everybody else until you're depleted. Then the community suffers because they no longer have access to your gift. Wow. So when Sabanfa and her husband came over here, one of the first things they noticed, they thought something was wrong. They were on the highway, and they saw people speeding all over the place. They saw people running and jogging and walking fast. And they're like, what happened? Like, where are they going? And then after a while, they realized, oh, my God, these people, they're looking for spirit, and they don't even know it. They have no idea. The reason they came over here was because their Maladoma's name actually means make friends with the stranger/enemy. His grandfather foretold that he would make friends with the stranger/enemy, the white man, because they had so ravaged their land during colonization that their land would be barren and they wouldn't have the resources to survive. They didn't have water. They actually had water, but they needed to be able to dig wells. And so they came over here, and our people didn't really embrace them because they were teaching white people, but he came to save his people's lives in his village. That was their mission. That was their purpose. And so we built over, I want to say right now, over 100 wells in Dagara land. But that's the reason they came. So when they came, they taught the ways of being in community. And they said, over here, the problem is that we don't have any place to share our gifts, because this is not how spirit operates. Spirit doesn't operate according to 9 and 10 o'clock, right? Spirit operates on its own time and in its own way. But we live, like I said, we were born behind enemy lines into a foreign culture, and it literally is an assault on our spirit. Yes, and every day our people are losing their minds. Everything they have done is to divide and conquer. And so we have women's movements and women's rights and all that, and that's not our fight. That's not our fight, because in our culture, there was always a balance between the male and the female. So we need to heal, and this healing is not just for the men, it's for the women, it's for our children. And definitely. What I discovered was I went through a divorce. We say Donald Trump is a narcissist, but it's very different. When you live with somebody, we throw that word around loosely. I don't know how many people really know what it's like to live with someone that does not have a conscience, right? And for me, that was my circumstance. I didn't even know it. I did not know it. I was believing what I saw. It's when I got divorced that I began to experience it. And I had never experienced anything like that before, to my knowledge. I didn't realize that when I was growing up, one of my parents had that personality, and it had affected me. So I had a lot of spiritual training, done a lot of personal work, but I got to the point where the pain was so much, and it was a pain so deep I couldn't see it, that everything broke, everything. And when everything broke, I found myself not able to I got sick. I couldn't maintain my job. I had to leave, and when I was going to go back, the feelings in my body of weakness came back with such a force. I knew if I went back, I wouldn't make it. I would not survive. And so I said, okay, God, I don't know how to do this. I don't have a plan. I know there was a calling on my life, but I don't know how to do this. So I know that I have to stay connected no matter what. And so, at first it was okay, but then I ran out of money, and I never even considered social services or anything like that. So I got to a point where I couldn't feed myself, couldn't feed my son. And one day I called a friend. I said, I don't know what else to do. I can't sell any more programs. And we're hungry She called the church next to me and close to me, and they brought me groceries. But the lady said, you know what, I just suggest that you go to social services, and they'll give you money for food until you can get back on your feet. And that lady went with me. When I got there, I could not. There was a line outside the building. I'm like, oh, my God, what is this? This is. I live on Capitol Hill. It's a few blocks away from where I live. I never saw anything like that. And what I saw looked like a refugee line. And we went in there. She stayed in there with me like half the day. And the condition that I saw our people in, I was absolutely outraged. I was outraged at how our people were treating each other, but more outraged at how helpless they were. There were always fights and arguments because people were just like 1 second away from somebody saying, you know, like nobody better say anything to me, otherwise I will lose it. And so many times I saw police have to take people out. People just trying to get food, get medicine to feed their, you know. And I didn't understand. I'm like, oh my God, I thought I had failed. I'm like, how in the world did I come this far to be in this place? But I didn't know it was going to lead me to this movement. Because I said, something has to be done about this. And what I know from my training and from my own personal development is that if you're in a relationship and it's abusive, if you don't change, that relationship is not going to change. If you don't gain a greater awareness of who you are and what you are, nothing will change. Right. And so I said, you know what? I know some simple things. I coach people. I teach. I train. I do all of that. But can I do a training? I said, I'm going to do a training. I'm going to do a 4-week training. That's going to be for free. I want to start a movement. I want to reach out to people like myself, because I know there's a lot of spiritual people out here that know they have gifts and maybe just are in fear, right? Don't have the courage of Satellite and Black Rose to get on the radio and to talk and to do all of this. But our people are dying. They're hurting. And these white people and their offspring, they are intentional about wiping us off this planet.
Definitely.
They are intentional. And so if people are moving with a clear intention and you have none, they will get what they want 100% of the time. You understand? And so I had an experience. Intention, yes. I had an experience where I met a young lady just trying to help one of my friends pass out some flyers for a workshop. Met a young lady who said, she's like, sister, please come to my house, talk to me. She said, I've been begging God for a breakthrough because I can't do this anymore. I've been on drugs from 14 and I'm 44. And I've been to every program. I can teach the program. And she said, my husband was like the biggest drug dealer in D.C. and he was executed a year ago. And my dad was a prophet and he gave me double the blessing before he died the year before that. And she said, and I see things and I don't understand what I see. The stuff I see comes, happens. And she said, I'm in so much pain and I have these little kids. I don't know why God gave me these kids. Please come. I went to her house and all I did was I sat there with her. I listened to her. But when I heard her talking in a defeatist way where I knew there was just some things that she didn't know, something as simple as having a clear intention of what you want, simple things like that. She had no understanding or anything of those things I would share with her. But for the most part, I sat and I listened to her. Can I tell you, 2 weeks later, I called her to see how she was. And she's like, oh, you want to come over and get your hair done? Because I have clients in the basement. And I said, what? Wow. This woman had been in bed, would not get up out of her bed for over a year. Literally, when we were in her living room, she said, this is the first time since my husband was killed that I've been in here. And she said, I think his dying saved our lives. She said, because I had this dream that was so real that somebody was busting through my door and they had a gun and I was running upstairs yelling at the kids, go, run, hide. And they were right behind me and I heard them shoot. And she said, and I had that dream like 2 or 3 times. And it was something else she saw in that dream. And it was actually what she saw was the building that she would have to go to for her husband to be prepared for the wake. That was in the dream. And she said, you know what? the night before my husband was supposed to give up the drugs and get a job the very next day, he said, I got to go out and do one more deal. And she begged him. She said, please don't do it. She's like, I had a bad feeling. He went and he got killed. But she said, I really believe that if he was in this house, that person would have come in here and we would have all been dead. So
because it was just his time.
Yeah, this was a year and a half ago. A few months ago, 5 months ago, she picked up all of her stuff and she said, I'm moving to Florida. And she took her children. She sold everything she had. She said, because Spirit has told me that I need to go. She was Christian. So when I first started to talk to her, there was a lot of resistance, but I listened more than I spoke. And that us being able to hear ourselves is what makes a difference. Other people being willing to hear us without trying to hide it, fade it, or fix it, right? In that space, our spirit can heal. And that's why I'm so committed. I want to reach out to people who are spiritual and understand this and say, you know what, even if you gather with 2 or 3 people in your community, I got to hit every state. I want people in every state to literally start this. People who understand what I'm talking about. They may have never done it. I don't mind if they've never done it. I will teach them, because we can connect with 2 or 3 of our own people. We have to save our lives. We have to. They're wiping our children out. Our children, girls, little boys, babies, and nothing is happening. Nothing. I have. When I got Dr. Welsing's book, I got a book, and it's called "We Will Shoot Back," and this is a quote from it, and this during the Black Power movement. It said, "I am voicing."
Oh, that's by Fred Williams. Is that Fred Williams?
It says Akinyele Omawale Umoja, so I think it's somebody that changed their name.
Okay. Okay.
But it says, I am voicing.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I am voicing the sentiment of the whole Black community when I say we do not intend to start any violence, but we Blacks are not going to stand by and see our Black women, girls, and boys be beaten on the streets of Yazoo City. We Blacks want it known that such acts must be stopped, because we, here in Yazoo, will escort our Black women, girls, and boys down the street in this town. And if any white lays a hand on any one of them, we will take matters into our own hands, no matter who that white may be. Right? And so it talked about Medgar Evers carrying a gun, about his wife having a revolver at the side of her bed. When our people can be in a church and a white boy walk in the church and sit there and they have no sense of any danger whatsoever, and that he can kill everybody and leave one person to tell about it, something is wrong, because that's not who we are. We are a feeling, highly intuitive people. Our ancestors and ancestresses constantly communicate with us, but because of the religion and the way they have taught it to us, it has destroyed our sense. It hasn't been destroyed, it's been displaced. Our sense of self-preservation, right? How can a pastor be in a church? A pastor, right? I think about our pastors. These people are very connected to spirit. We live in a culture where, most people are Christian, so they become a Christian pastor. But they're sensitive to spirit. They see, they hear, they know things, just like all of us do. We may doubt it or whatever, but they see, hear, and know. So how can somebody come into your presence and it's a stranger? You couldn't walk into a mosque like a Nation of Islam. That guy could not walk into Nation of Islam packing like that. He wouldn't get past the front door.
Somebody would sense it. Somebody would sense it.
They would pat him down. He couldn't even come. He's a white guy. What are you doing here?
Yeah, when you go see Farrakhan, they patting everybody down, men, women, and children.
Yeah, they sure do. They sure do.
But we need that healing, and you know what, Carlenia? I think, in particularly women, we really, really need that healing too. I want to talk about women healing. If you don't mind just staying over a few minutes with us.
No,
I'm
no,
sure
that's
Mother
fine.
Hattie may
Yes,
have something.
yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll just take a quick break and we'll be right back. You're tuned into the Mind, Body, and Spirit radio show. We're listening to Carlenia Springer with Sacred Spaces Movement. And if you would like to join in the conversation, you can do that. Just call in. Let me give out the call-in number. It's 704-802. Let me get the last few numbers.
5056.
Thank you, Feather Life. 5056. Press star to unmute yourself. We'll be right back after this break.
Black Talk Radio, your choice for digital black radio. New black media for the new millennium.
All right, we're back here at the Mind, Body, and Spirit radio show with Carlenia Springer, and we're talking about sacred spaces, how we need to heal ourselves, sacred spaces movement, shall I say, and how we can heal ourselves and how we come together and get the energy and that space to move on, because really we can't take any action, or it's difficult, I would say, perhaps, to take an action before we heal ourselves, because I think it's just like save yourself before you try to save someone else. So let's save ourselves, let's heal ourselves so we can help each other, heal ourselves so we can help each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I wanted to mention something that Carlenia spoke of briefly. It was very important. You mentioned being in a relationship with a narcissist. And I had talked about that in one of our shows. I don't know what the subject was, but I wanted people to know, our audiences to know, that the signs and symptoms of being in a relationship with a narcissist, because many people think of a narcissist as just somebody that's just into themselves and they're always talking about themselves, It's much, much deeper than that. It is so much more deeper than that. A narcissist will ruin you. If you're in a relationship with one, they will ruin you financially. They will ruin your relationships with your family, with your friends. They will ruin your health. They will ruin your spirit, because a true narcissist, has no emotions. They have no feelings. The only desires that they have is to get what they want. And to get what they want by whatever means it takes, they have to get what they want. If you're familiar with an empath, an empath is a person who feels, who's very intuitive. They can tap into someone's emotions and energy. They can read the aura. So they're very feeling people. A narcissist is the exact opposite of an empath. A narcissist is actually a psychopath because they have no feelings. So it is very important that we recognize those signs. And then if you are a child, and I want to do a subject on that as well, because that's very important, because that goes into your life after. If you are a child of a narcissist, it affects you greatly also in how you deal with other people. And it is important that someone is aware that you're caught up in a relationship with a narcissist, or you have been in a relationship with a narcissist, or you are a child of a narcissist, that you may need some healing. You may need some healing, because you may not be aware that although you're out of that relationship, or although you're an adult, you may still be carrying on some after effects of being in a relationship or being raised by
a narcissist. It's very serious. So I can totally understand where you're coming from on that, Carlenia.
Yeah, that's, I listened to, it's a white lady, but she really helped me to put things into perspective, because most of the places that I looked, they really spoke about it from a victim standpoint. But one of the things she said was that this is the closest thing to soul shattering that anybody experiences, because they seek to destroy you on every level.
Every level.
And we source our strength from spirit, but they cannot. They cannot. And what's interesting is that site that I'm going to send you with the information. Okay. I remember, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. John Henry Clark, the historian.
Oh, another one of my favorites. Yes.
Oh, okay. And I remember him saying African spirituality, properly understood, is the most mature spirituality on the planet. And what I subsequently learned was that, we have different ideas of soul and that sort of thing. But in the Akan tradition, which goes right back and is shown, all this is shown on the ancient walls in Kemet, is that the soul is a spirit's brain. And I had never heard that. So imagine a person that's walking around and their brain doesn't function. So the whites and their offspring are spirits without a soul. And haven't you all heard or said at some point in time, these people act like they have no soul because of the things that they do? They literally don't have a soul. And so they have gone so far away from divine order that they themselves are in opposition to the order that the Supreme Being put in place. And narcissists are a perfect example of that. There is no connection whatsoever.
Nope.
They have to feed off of people in order to survive. If they don't have someone that they can feed off of, they literally will become sick.
They will.
And I saw it in my own, seen it in my own family, and I saw how my parents, when they were around family again, all of a sudden they got better, but they were literally on their deathbed. And and for me it was a shock because I didn't know. For me it was my mom, and I had no idea. I grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist home, seemed proper. She was very strict, but I didn't know that there was no love for me. There was a lot of, I was a focus, but I've come to realize, no, she doesn't have love for anybody. She doesn't have the capacity. Does not have the capacity to love. And so, it's difficult to separate yourself, but you can't fight that personality because they can do what they do all day long.
Right.
And you said it, I'm an empath, and I was married to a narcissist. And so you feel everything. However, I didn't know, because just like my mom was shaded from me, he was shaded from me. So it wasn't until after the divorce that in the divorce, we went to mediation, and he said, the lady said, what do you want? You have a home. What do you want? Well, he bought our home before, I even moved here. So I said, well, let him tell you. Whatever he says, okay. He said 30%. I said, okay. And I didn't know that I was saying okay to everything because I trusted him. I didn't see him for what he was. I knew we couldn't talk, but I didn't know. I didn't know why he wasn't overt with his control.
But he was a covert narcissist.
He was, yes. And so one that is very pleasant. This is not working, and so when he changed, it crushed me. I didn't understand. I'm like, okay, we're divorced. The thing that was hurtful was more not me but my child, because he just like walked away, and it's like, what do you do with that? And would not refuse to co-parent, refuse to cooperate on any level.
You no longer need it. You are no longer needed. Yeah.
Yes. And so that was but you know what? It was the greatest pain, but also the greatest healing, because it took me to it. That is what made me realize that I grew up with a parent that was a narcissist. See, I didn't realize, and even when I was told, I didn't have a full understanding. It's when everything collapsed, and I could not perform at the high level that I'm used to performing. I said, "Oh my God, something is really, really wrong with me," you know.
Yeah.
And so the healing the healing took place in me creating sacred spaces, and I wasn't trying to do any particular ritual. I had no money. I didn't have the little things, the candle, the red candle, all of these different things that you do. It was me and God. I was like, God, you got to show me, because I've only walked. My only desire has been to walk in alignment with you, and I've come to the edge of everything I know, and it's all been a lie. I'm not moving until you move me. And in that space, I began to reclaim all the what you call disowned parts of yourself. I began to embrace me. I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time. And so that's how sacred spaces was birthed.
I think that's what we as women really need, just to reclaim ourselves too. If you could just speak before we close out this segment with you, and we certainly would love to have you come back and speak more as soon as you can about Sacred Spaces movement. What about, in particularly, the hurt that women have experienced, Black women? If you could just talk a little bit about that and how we can move into a healing sacred space.
Okay. You know what? When I met the young lady that was on drugs, my life was completely different from hers. Right? I was like, how in the world do I connect with her? But you know what? We all know what anger feels like. We know what rage, sadness, loneliness, betrayal feels like, right? We know that. And that's where we connect. So the stories, they matter, but they don't really. It's being willing to sit there with the pain without, like I said before, trying to hide it, move it, fade it, or fix it. Being willing to sit, just like you would want your lover or your husband or, you know, whoever, your significant other or your parent, to comfort you. That's what I went through. I literally had stones, and I just sat there, and I just unconsciously I began to do it. What came to mind was painful situations that I had been in, and I realized that I felt lonely, I felt abandoned, I felt sad, I had no one to talk to, because my mom the suppression was complete. So I had no form of expression. I was silent in order to be safe physically. Right? Yeah. And so I think that relates to our experience as a people, where we have to deal with domestic violence and violence by law enforcement and things like that, the suppression that our people have been under. I say it's time for us to speak, to give those parts of us that we've pushed aside because we haven't known what to do with it. See, I didn't know that if I sat with my pain, I didn't know that it would rise, but it would also subside. And I didn't know that in my presence it would dissolve and it would be okay. But I got to a place where I couldn't control anything. And so all I had was time, and that's what I did. But I also practiced, and this is what I teach in Sacred Spaces, shifting my focus and my attention, literally asking myself, because I could be worried about something, and literally I would ask myself, okay, Carlenia, where are you? What's going on? Okay, you're standing in your living room, right? Are you in danger? No. Okay, can you see that mirror in front of you? Like, literally, I would literally do that. I'll put my hand on my heart and say, you know what? I love you. It's okay. It doesn't feel good, but you're okay. It's all right. And doing that from time to time, whenever it would come to my mind, began to create a strength within me that I didn't know I had. That and, being in meditation and sitting there. And I realized that meditation wasn't to just calm my nerves. It was where communication was taking place between me and the ancestors, right? It's not a place of quiet and just do yoga and, peace and happiness and love. No. We're supposed to give our pain to our ancestors. That's the purpose of ritual. That they have a purpose, and they're there to take that. They're there to open doors for us. But if we can't hear them, we can't move. That's and so if we can't, the Bible will talk about it as a still small voice. But if I can't hear myself, how am I going to hear that still small voice?
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
just the
Go into
beginning.
a quiet space.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I think of it as also like a telephone line. If your line is always busy, you know, how are you going to get the call through? You know, somebody's trying to reach you, you know, but your line is always busy. Boing, 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 always busy. You know, so, yeah, sometimes you need to hang up the phone, let the call come through, let the messages come through,
Yes.
you know. Yeah.
And what happens is that in the training that I'm going to do, because I really train people to be very present as much as they can, right? Those little shifts, what happens is that they begin to notice the synchronicity, or what people call coincidence, right? Mm-hmm. They begin to notice the science. And and it's so subtle, but when you notice it, you can take a step and you trust that step that you're taking. Mm-hmm. And then doors just continue to open. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if I could, you know, it's at the core. I have different things that I teach, but I'm like, this is at the core of everything. If I can get this to our people, at least, you know, it can create an opening for them. They can have some measure of control over their situation and not feel so helpless. And know that wherever they go, they have their ancestresses are walking with them. Our people receive messages all the time. They may not trust it, but we see, we hear, we know, right? May not have physical proof. We dream. We know things. That stuff is not acknowledged in metaphysical circles. Yeah, people talk about it, but I went to Intervisions, to Eonless School, Intervision Institute for Spiritual Development, for 2 years. So I was surrounded by people who are metaphysical, and even them, they wouldn't even talk about their spiritual experiences openly. Many of them, right? But I would come across people who would say, tell me things. I say, you're the only one I've told this. I've only told this to one other person. And I said, it's time for this conversation to come out, because you're seeing things and you know things. If you don't acknowledge it, who else is going to acknowledge it? Right? That's the same thing for relationships. That if I don't honor me, how are you going to honor me? If I think I got to stay in a relationship that is destructive for my survival, and I'm under the threat of death every day, what? You know? So we got to reclaim our mind. Yeah.
Reclaim our minds. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this, and we look forward to you coming back, because I want to hear more, because I am in my healing space and I want to be healed.
Absolutely.
So, as do I.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing this.
In this crazy world. So we need those sacred spaces. So thank you again for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, are you on any social media where people can follow you? Or
you know what? I stopped. I was on Facebook, and when everything collapsed, I removed myself. It was too much distraction, too much noise. I removed myself from there. But if anybody is interested, what they can do is they can send me a text. Can I give that information? Is it okay to give that information? Okay. So if you just text your name and sacred spaces, or your name, email, and sacred spaces to 202-826-0527. And when I get ready to do the training, I will send you information. That's 202-826-0527.
Yes. And when you get ready to do the training, come back and let us know. And that way we can let everybody else know and they can join.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much
for joining us.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
Namaste.
Namaste. And that was Carlenia Springer again with Sacred Spaces Movement. And you can reach out to her at 202-826-0527 to take part in her Sacred Spaces Movement. I hope I'm the only person hearing that noise. Can you hear that, Philip?
No. What does it sound like?
Some type of disruption. But okay, it stopped. Good. I hope it stopped. All right. Okay. I'll tell you. Technical difficulties here tonight. So let me just share a quote, and then we'll move it along, because I think you have a spoken word for the light. If you still want to share that spoken word, or we can go into the Did You Know. Trust yourself. Think for yourself. Act for yourself. Speak for yourself. Be yourself. Imitation is suicide. Marva Collins. Again, as we celebrate Women's History Month, we are sharing quotes from women.
All right.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, let's see. Oh, I don't want us to. I want to make sure we play that.
The Annalise
tape.
clip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's right. Yes. Hey, Scotty, can you cue up that clip for us as we get ready to?
Yes, ma'am. Give me
segment?
just a second as I pull it back up. I had it up earlier, but I had navigated away from the page. Give me just a second. It'll take me about a minute.
Now, most people say that art imitates life, and this speech captured perfectly the current state of America's twisted justice system. This is Viola Davis's character, Annalise, in How to Get Away with Murder. She's presenting her case to the Supreme Court of our crooked justice system. So listen to this.
Injustice system.
Okay, give me just a second, ladies, because it's actually the video that I have is within my own video, and it's buried in. I might be able to go to New Abolitionists on BTR
Well, I'll tell
community.
you what. Go ahead on, and while you're doing that, let me see. I see. Did you want to give out about the reparations call? Would you like to share that if you're available to do that?
Yes, the African women reparations call every Tuesday, and that will be during. Grab the number here right quick. Central Time 9, Eastern Time 10, and it's for 1 hour, and we're looking at reparations and / restitution for our sisters that have been violated from the time they were left the shores of Africa. And what we're doing is having a conversation so that we can mobilize in order to use that energy that the sister was talking about to come together and be united. And so we want people to call in and spread the word. To call in, and we want the brothers, and I do have the number here for people to call in. It's a conference call line, and you simply dial 515-739-6215, and then put in a PIN code is 767408. Again, call in Tuesday, Central Standard Time. Call is for 1 hour, 9 to 10. Eastern Time, 10 to 11. And the phone number again is 515-739-6215. And the PIN code is 767408. And we're loving it, and we're excited about it. And we're wanting to have brothers call in simply because we say this is reparations for African women, for the black woman. We just want to talk about that, and we want to make sure that the brothers understand we're not leaving them out. We want them in the conversation. How do we parlay this into what we need to have it parlayed into with our presence of our own voices as leaders of our own destiny? And so that's what it's about. It's not about leaving out the brothers. And so we just really want the brothers to join us in this conversation. So, again, one more time, that's every Tuesday, and from 9 Central Standard Time to 10, and then Eastern Time, 10 to 11. And the phone number is 515-739-6215, PIN code 767408. And thank you for allowing me to do that. And certainly Black Rose is our very outstanding historian. And I'll tell you, we're all learning from each other.
Yes, we are. And we'll give out more information about the Women's Forum that'll be taking place here in Galveston. That's Real Talk, Real Women. And we want to hear the stories of Black women, what we've experienced living in this wicked system, and also how we can heal. But we want to get those stories out. We want to create that safe space for women to talk. Okay, so thanks, Mother Hattie. Thank you so much. Thank
you.
Yes. Stay tuned, because we're getting ready to listen to Viola Davis as she speaks about the injustice system and how we are detrimentally affected by it. Okay, Scott, do you have that clip? How it's so detrimental to us.
As an arbiter of the law with whole knowledge of historical jurisprudence in this country, race must always be considered a variable.
You have precious time, Miss Keating. I suggest that you don't waste it by making arguments you've already made.
These are not my words, Justice Strickland. They're yours. You wrote them in your 1985 ruling in Bryant v. Topeka, an equal protection case dealing with a state housing lottery program. Racism is built into the DNA of America. And as long as we turn a blind eye to the pain of those suffering under its oppression, we will never escape those origins. The only safeguard people of color have is the right to a defense, and we won't even give them that. Which means that the promise of civil rights has never been fulfilled. Due to the failure of our justice system, our public defense system in particular, Jim Crow is alive and kicking. Laws that made it illegal for blacks and whites to be buried in the same cemetery. They categorize people into quadroons and octoroons. They punish a black person for seeking medical attention in a white hospital. Some may claim that slavery has ended. But tell that to the inmates who are kept in cages and told that they don't have any rights at all. People like my client Nathaniel Leahy and millions of people like him who are relegated to a subclass of human existence in our prisons. There is no alternative to justice in this case. There is no other option. To decide against my plaintiff is to choose lining the pockets of prison owners over providing basic defense for the people who live in them. And is that the America that this court really wants to live in? Where money is more important than humanity? Where criminality is confused with mental health? The Sixth Amendment was ratified in 1791. It's been 226 years since then. Let's finally guarantee its rights to all of our citizens.
All right, and that was the Viola Davis, her character Annalise, on How to Get Away with Murder. There was like this crossover episode with Scandal and Kerry Washington, who portrays Olivia Pope, a crisis management expert, and Viola Davis, who is the quote-unquote troubled lawyer, brilliant lawyer on how to get away with murder. So she talks about slavery was never terminated, and how racism is built into the DNA of America. And I took a few notes here. The only safeguard people of color have is the right to a defense, and we can't even afford them that. And that is so true, because that's what we experience here in America. There is no justice for us. She speaks about the punishment of Black people for seeking treatment in a hospital that they were turned away. And I think it was Bessie Smith. If anyone knows for sure, please share that. But I believe it was Bessie Smith who was said to have been turned away. Bessie Smith was a blues singer. But I mean, she's not the only person. Just think of the many Black people that were turned away and couldn't go to certain hospitals.
Well, we know Dr. Charles Drew's case.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, Sister Delta. Him. Ain't he the one who came up with open heart surgery?
The man who did the transfusion, did all the research, but he died because he couldn't get blood at the White Hospital that was close to where he had the accident, the auto accident, I believe it was. So, I mean, that is such a travesty there when you talk about somebody who actually did this technology in blood banks and all that work. And Dr. Charles Drew died because he couldn't get blood at the White Hospital that was closest.
I'm glad that his name was brought up. That's oh my goodness, that's such a tragic story. And so many people, how we've been treated, like she mentions, treated as subhuman, living in these prisons, and the pockets of these prison owners are lined, and basic care is not given to them. Criminality confused with mental health. Lord knows we are suffering from that. When criminality is confused as mental health, so many people who've been having these mental episodes, just breakdowns, because they don't have these sacred spaces like what Carlenia was speaking about. They don't have these sacred spaces to learn how to heal. And then they exactly, Scotty, and they end up getting shot because they need some help. Police do not need to come to a person's aid, quote unquote aid, when they're having a mental episode. I want to just briefly speak on, and then we could have a few more comments if anyone would like to share anything. She spoke about the Sixth Amendment. So I had to Google the Sixth Amendment. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the rights of criminal defendants, including the right to a public trial without unnecessary delay. Now, think about that, unnecessary delay. I'll put a pin in that. The right to a lawyer, the right to an impartial jury, and the right to know who your accusers are and the nature of the charges and evidence against you. So when we think about people that are held in jail, just right off the top of my head, we can go to the Khalif Browder story. Held in Rikers Island, Lord knows that's hell. Held in Rikers Island for 3 years, I believe it was. And his charge was stealing a backpack. That someone had come out and said, no, he actually didn't steal the backpack. And he was beaten, and God knows what else happened to him in Rikers Island, because when he was released, he came out and committed suicide. And so people shouldn't be held in jail like that without actually being charged, without actually being convicted of the crime. They haven't even been to trial yet. So their Sixth Amendment is being violated. And so we really wanted to share, and I'm glad that you thought about that, Featherlight, sharing this clip of Viola Davis's speech, Annalise, in court, defending a group of people. She had a class action. She brought to court, the Supreme Court, a class action lawsuit for a group of people whose Sixth Amendment right had been violated. These people's rights had been violated. They did not have a proper defense. So you want to share anything, Featherlight? Anything else, or
Bessie Smith was the woman who was refused help by a white hospital. She had been in an accident, a car accident, on the way to Memphis, and her right arm was practically severed off. It was just kind of barely there, and she was turned away, and she was bleeding profusely. I mean, if your arm is dangling off practically, I mean, naturally you're losing a lot of blood. So from the White Hospital to the hospital where they sent her, she just didn't make it. She just didn't make it. And even when I was born, my mother was not allowed to have me in the White Hospital because she had had a child 2 years prior. My sister was only 2 years older than me. So we're too close in age, so they said. So she was forced to have me at home, and a clerk, not a doctor or assistant, a clerk was sent to assist her with my birth. And those were the rules back in the 50s. So it hadn't been that long ago. But something terrible happened, and so they had to change those laws.
And see, I wonder how many people know their history, and like you said, that wasn't that far, that wasn't that long ago when that was the rule. When you had to have, you weren't allowed to go to a hospital. But you know what? We don't need to go to that darn hospitals to have our children anyway. We need to go back to having them at home. So they really were doing us a favor. But see how they trick us and mind screw us and make us think, well, no. But then again, it's, I get it, because it's like, no, you want to prohibit me from doing this because of my color. So no, I'm demanding I come. I get it all. But see, that again, it goes back to all the unnecessary foolishness that we have to go through just to survive and live. Oh, God. Any more comments before we go to our break?
Nope. No. We could go straight to the break.
All right. Mother Hattie, Delta, any more comments before we go to break?
No, not for me.
I have a comment.
All right, then. Okay, Scotty, what you got for us?
I just felt like, oh, man, I probably would have started crying if she'd have just mentioned the 13th Amendment. She laid it out when she said that we say that slavery's been abolished, but tell that to the prisoners in the cages, And I just felt like, if they would have just mentioned the 13th Amendment, y'all know that stay on my mind. But, that's the reason why we have prison slavery, is because it was legalized by the 13th Amendment. They never ended slavery. That was a compromise with the Confederate States to join the Union, to come back into the Union, for white people to make up with each other at our expense. So it was a great, fabulous scene, very powerful scene, her speaking those truths. I just felt like that would have been the icing on the cake, so to speak, if she'd have mentioned the 13th. But I'm not complaining.
Absolutely. Yeah. I appreciate that comment, Scotty. Thank you so much for sharing. But you're right about that. If she had also included that would have been the icing on the cake. Whew. All right, we'll go to break, and we'll come right back with our African spirit briefly and go into some Love the Body and Breathing. Stay tuned. You are listening to the Mind, Body, and Spirit Radio Show.
Podcasts and live program scheduling, visit us on the web at blacktalkradionetwork.com.
Okay, and we are back here at the Mind, Body, and Spirit Show. African Spirit, yes. Tonight we are honoring Sarah Elizabeth Goode, or Goode. She was born in 1855, passed April 8, 1905. She was an entrepreneur and inventor. She was actually the first African-American woman to receive a United States patent. Yes. First woman to receive a United States patent. She was born in Toledo, Ohio. She invented out of necessity, which most of the inventions during that time came from out of necessity, because we were the proletariats, we were the workers. And again, we just really came over to areas of the world recreating what we already were using in other parts of the world. So I just have to throw that in. Her invention, most people lived in these small homes and studios, right? So there was just a minimum amount of space. So a lot of her customers complained about not having enough room to store things or add any furniture. So she invented a folding cabinet bed, which helped people who lived in these tight housing spaces, and they were able to utilize their space efficiently. It was a fold-up bed. It looked like a desk with room for a storage. She patented on July 14th, 1855. Her invention was the precursor to the Murphy bed, which was patented in the 1900s. So the Murphy bed, all of that contributed to Sarah Goode. And so we honor her tonight for our African spirit. And this bed, it was really something. You could fold it up and store things in it. So when we think about the beds that we have now with the little understorage and all of that,
right.
you see what we create. Mm-hmm. And African American women were constantly inventing all types of items that we began to use and become accustomed to using in our daily lives. So, Sarah Goode, thank you so much for inventing that bed.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing it with us. The first woman to receive a patent. You know how difficult it was for people of color to get patents? My goodness.
Right, because there was a certain time, I can't remember, up until slavery was quote-unquote abolished, you couldn't take ownership in many of your inventions because you were owned by someone.
Exactly.
You weren't considered a person, even though we were inventing everything, reinventing. All right, so,
exactly.
All right, go ahead, Alma, what you have, my love.
All right. I have a very quick quote. Some say motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we suggest you do it daily. Kiki. Shout out to one of our loyal listeners, Cynthia, all the way from Japan. I just wanted to thank her for her inspiration, her encouragement that she has given us. Thank you. Arigato in Japanese, that's thank you. And thank you to all of our loyal and new listeners here and abroad. Merci. Osante. Gracias. Arakomono. Grazie. Sisi. Nogode. That's Japanese, French, Swahili, Spanish, Luo, Italian, traditional Chinese, and one of your three languages, Hausa.
Oh, okay. Well, Africans are linguists, so I love all of that. I truly love all of that, honey. Just bring it.
All righty. So, time for a little love the body. How is your sacral chakra? The sacral chakra. What I'd like to do, love the body, is highlight just one chakra at a time, because there's 7 main ones, but actually we have more than 7, especially people of color, people who are melanin dominant, have actually more chakras than Europeans, but we won't get into that. We'll just talk about the sacral chakra tonight. It's the third of your 7 major chakras, and I would like to share some things about it to see how yours is doing. Each chakra has an element. Each chakra has gemstones aligned with it. Each chakra has an orientation to self. They have goals, identity, a right, and a demon. So the element for the sacral chakra is water. The gemstones are citrine, amber, fire gate, main ones. Orientation to self is self-gratification. So that's what this one is about. The goals are pleasure, healthy sexuality, feeling, identity is emotional identity. And the right associated with this chakra is the right to feel. You have the right to feel. The demon of this chakra is guilt. So the sacral chakra is about what the body wants and needs and what it finds pleasurable. So many of us are denying ourselves pleasure. We're feeling guilty about pleasure. It's also associated with the person's willingness to feel their emotions. And of course, as we said before, a narcissist has none. If your sacral chakra is excessive, some of the things you may experience is seductive manipulation, obsessive attachment, emotional dependency. You're caught up in illusions. You're overindulgent. The sexual energy, you may see people as sex objects. Ooh, I know somebody like that. If it's deficient, you have poor social skills. There's a fear of sex. There's a lack of desire, of passion, of excitement. There's a denial of pleasure. There's a fear of change. Guilt about having sex. Burdened by guilt. If it's balanced, you have graceful movements, emotional intelligence, ability to experience pleasure, nurture of self and others. You have the ability to change. You have healthy boundaries. You're friendly, concerned for others, and there's a sense of belonging. Your intuition is good. You're clairsentient. Just your intuition. You radiate warmth and compassion. Now, if there's these are the physical dysfunctions that are signs that your sacral chakra needs healing. You have OBGYN problems. There's sexual dysfunctions of the reproductive organs, urinary system problems, loss of appetite for food, sex, life, chronic lower back pain, sciatica. You may have addictions to alcohol, sex, heroin. Healing strategy, if your sacral chakra is imbalanced, if it's deficient, if it's excessive, try movement therapy. Dancing, dance. Emotional release. As our guest speaker was talking about, we need to release our emotions. Don't keep them all bottled up. If emotion is not expressed, it does not die. It only festers, and it explodes in the most inopportune time. People think you're crazy. Inner child work, boundary work, assign healthy pleasures. It's okay to want pleasure. And here are a couple of affirmations that you can try. I deserve pleasure in my life.
I deserve pleasure in my life.
In my life.
I deserve pleasure in my life.
Yes. I accept and acknowledge my sexuality.
I accept and acknowledge my sexuality.
My physical health is strong and pure.
My physical health is strong and pure.
I absorb information from my feelings.
I absorb information from my feelings.
Great. All right.
You can type that all up on the Mind, Body, and Spirit page so I can remember all of that.
Okay. I certainly will. So that's a little bit about the sacral chakra that I wanted to share. Let's see. 5. You know what? I may have a little time to do a spoken word.
Yes, you do have time to do a spoken word.
I haven't done a spoken word in a few weeks. Okay.
I'm going to give you your snaps.
Back, turn the lights down low, let me walk up to the stage and sit down on the little stool like they do with the little paper. Yes. So everybody use your imagination. All right.
Okay.
Why you call my name? Why you call my name? Why do you call my name when you've shown me the door? Why do you grab my arm when you told me to leave? Why do you sabotage my car once I find my hidden keys? Why do you shoot me in the back when I'm running away from you? You say you hate me, but you can't seem to let me go. You try to put me on backstage, but I'm actually the star of your show. What is this strange fascination you have with me, with my very essence? This hate, love, push, pull, envy, despise, attraction. You carry with you everywhere you go, like Linus on Charlie Brown with his soul blanket. You mock what you so immolate. You denounce what you impersonate. My name is on your lips every single day, fabricating lies from the thin air, feeding false propaganda everywhere like butter on toast. You can't get enough of me. What is it about me? And why can't you keep your hands off me? Am I your food, your energy, the very air you breathe? Why do you keep calling my name? You can't stand me. You need me. I confuse you. You fear me. You fear me. You live your life vicariously through me. What would you be without me? What would you do? What is this hold I have over you? This power that is perceived as weakness. This giant is awakening, and you tremble at the thought of my knowing, my oncoming awareness. The shift is here. There's a ripple in this false world, a crack in the hologram, and now you scramble frantically on your mission. But I see you. I see you. The crack is widening, more of us are peering through, and you're coming undone. What will you do when I make the connection and realize my power over you? When I remove the blinders and remember who I am, and that it was you who needed me, not me who needed you. What will you do when it is revealed the emperor has no clothes? The emperor is not an emperor, but just a little man behind a huge glittered curtain, nervously pushing buttons, turning knobs, and clicking keys, trying to turn back time. But the shift is here, and the time is mine. The time is mine. Hello, world. I'm back. Namaste.
Namaste. Allow me to reintroduce myself. All right. Thank you, Featherlight. Thank you. All right. That was perfect. I love when you share that one. Why you call my name?
I love it. Why you call my name? Leave me alone. All right. Let's time for a little R and R. Is there anything else you wanted to share before I did the R and R?
No, let's do R&R. I'm ready for R&R. Are we standing or sitting?
Let's see. We can sit to begin, and I believe we can sit throughout. So, your choice. You can sit or stand. Actually, we're going to do a little belly breathing, so it's actually better that you sit.
I need some belly breathing.
All right. So, this is belly breathing. So just relax, raise your shoulders up to your ears and drop them. Kind of shake your shoulders a little bit, kind of, release all the tension. All right. Take a deep breath and get ready for the belly breathing. You're going to place one hand on your stomach and the other one on your chest. And you can sit comfortably with your feet flat on the floor. Breathe in deeply through your nostrils. And what you're going to do, listen to me first. You're going to breathe in through your nostrils. You're going to send the air down your throat past your chest, letting your hand on your chest. Remain still. It doesn't move. Then you're going to breathe out through your lips, pursing them as if you're about to whistle. You do know how to whistle, right? Okay. So, there you go. Gently guide your hand on your stomach inward as you exhale so you can help press the air out. Okay? All right. So, one hand on your chest, the other on your abdomen. And let's inhale. Exhale. Remember to keep your lips pierced as you breathe out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Once more. Inhale. Exhale. Okay. So I hope that your hand on your chest remains still. Now, this is a very good technique to do every day. Once you develop this technique, it will be very useful. It will be a tool that you can have with you always. Use it whenever anything upsetting is about to happen or you're having a confrontation with someone. Before you react, use it whenever you're aware of any internal stress or tension, and you could also use it to help you fall asleep. This exercise cannot be recommended too highly. Everyone can benefit from it. You can do it sitting down or you can do it lying down on a mat, your preference, okay? Oh. Now let's try a little knocking and slapping. We've got blocked meridians in our energy channels. They're running through our body, and when they're blocked, they're hindering the flow of chi, and this causes an imbalance between the forces of yin and yang, and so this is the primary cause of disease. The solution is to unlock the meridians. Slapping, knocking, and stretching work together to clear the meridians of these blocks and help the body to get rid of disease. So, make a light fist, not clench, but just light, and just knock on your chest. You remember like Tarzan used to do? Just knock on your chest and loosen up the stagnation there. And this builds your immune system. You can do this anytime, anywhere. Let go of any worries, any doubts. Now move up to your thymus gland and knock there. Take some deep breaths. Knock on your heart. Take some deep breaths. Okay. Good. All right. Now stop and relax and breathe normally. Now we're going to do a little slapping. Sounds funny. I want to slap you. All right. Stick out your right arm. Under your right arm first. Stretch it out to your side. And take your left hand and just start to pat on your upper shoulder as if you're patting yourself on the back, only you're patting your shoulder. Now, go under your shoulder a little bit and just start patting there. And it's patting, slapping, the same thing. So one of the most powerful tools we have is your own hands. Now slap on the inside of your arm, under the shoulder, and start to work your way down to the inside of the elbow. So what you're doing is you're creating heat there. So this causes the blood vessels to expand and the chi to flow strongly, okay? So this loosens it up. Go all the way down, okay? You're on your inner elbow. Tap there, slap there, down your arm, slap your wrist, the inside of your palm, your fingers. Now, that's your yin side, what you just did. Now flip it over and tap or slap the back of your hand. That's the yang. So if you do the yin, you have to do the yang. You have to balance. So start slapping there. Slap all the way up to your elbow. You're on the outside of your elbow. Slap there, on up to your forearm, and work your way up to your shoulder. Okay? Now, you normally do this twice, but I want to make sure we have enough time. So we're going to do the other arm. Switch arms and do the same thing. Start tapping or slapping your shoulder area so you'll get an idea of where you're supposed to slap. Then kind of turn it over a little bit and start slapping the yin side, which is the inside of your arm. Slap on down to your inner elbow. And slap a little longer here because in the areas where your body bends, like your knee and your elbow, the chi tends to get stagnated there. And if you notice, that's where you tend to have hurts and pains. So when you're doing this alone, slap a little longer there, and then work your way on down to your wrist. Slap there, and your palm. Flip it over to the yang. Start slapping the back of your hand, your arm. Work your way up to the outer elbow, your forearm, the outside of the shoulder. And slap a little around your neck. Okay? All right. Now, drop your arms. Just take some regular breathing. Relax. And just going to shake a little bit. Shake and smile. Shake and smile. Shaking and smiling actually sends a message to your brain to relax. So somebody is just really just trying to get the best of you, just walk away from them, do a little shake and smile. It's like, forget it. And now we're ready for our closing. Take your arms out to the side and up over your head. Your palms are facing each other. Look up. Bring down some good heavenly chi down over your face. Slowly over to your shoulders, your chest, abdomen, your hips. Past your thighs, towards your feet to the floor. Again, inhale. Raise your arms up over your head. Grab some good heavenly chi. Exhale. Bring it slowly down over your crown, your face, your shoulders, your chest, your abdomen, hips, and shoot it to the floor. Lastly, bring your hands together in the Anjali Mudra, or the prayer symbol. Take a good deep breath, smile. It always helps to smile. Do a slight little nod. Namaste. Thank you for participating in our breathing pranayama and our qigong, slapping and knocking. And it is time for you to come out of your cocoon because your wings are ready.
Yes.
Namaste. See you next week.
Namaste. Thank you so much. Peace and good night, everyone. Have a prosperous week. Namaste.
Namaste.